Okay, so I uploaded a guide that goes over transformations of functions. It's very useful. I would use it when doing this unit until you get the hang of things. So what are transformations of functions? Meaning you move functions, you rotate them, you flip them, you translate them up, down, left, right, stretch or shrink them. So let's kind of go over the different types of transformations. So here we have a vertical translation. Let me zoom out a little bit. We have a vertical translation, which means it's moving vertically. Here, it moved 3 units up. You can tell by looking at the function. This is the parent function, right? This is the function when nothing else is, added to it. That's just your standard basic parent function. But when it moved up 3, look what changed. We added 3 to both sides, right? And it vertically shifted up. When it moved down, look what changed. It moved down 4 units. Over here, it went up 2. It went down 3. So you can see what changed by just looking at the function. So notice the difference between vertical, right? It was outside the absolute value, outside the square root. Now it is inside the parentheses. When things move horizontally, it's different. When they move to the left, it's a plus, and when they move to the right, it's a negative. Plus for left, negative for right. And you can look at the function examples there. Here, these are reflections. Things can reflect over the x-axis. And so when a function is multiplied by -1, it will undergo a reflection. When the function is multiplied by -1, where y equals f of x, it becomes y equals negative f of x. The graph of y equals f of x is reflected over the x-axis. So when all this is multiplied by a negative, you can see here, there should be a negative here. They messed up. It's not showing. But you can see it flipped over, it rotated over, reflected over the x-axis. Here, it was on the outside, right? Outside of the square root, outside of the absolute value. Now it's on the inside. So on the other hand, if the variable is multiplied by -1, just the variable, it then reflects across the y-axis. So try to be able to identify them when you're looking at the functions. So now you can see reflected over y. Okay, so vertical stretches and shrinks is when something vertically stretches upward or downward, right? Your y values become greater or they become lesser. So when your c, whatever you're multiplying your function by, which in this case was a 3 and a 1/4, because this is the parent function, when your c is greater than 0 but less than 1, a vertical shrink happens. When your c is greater than 1, like this 3, a stretch happens. So greater than 1 is a stretch, less than 1 but equal to greater than 0 is a shrink. So these are vertical stretches and shrinks. A vertical stretch is the same thing as a horizontal shrink. A vertical shrink is the same thing as a horizontal stretch. So these are horizontal stretches and shrinks. You can see here now it's inside, right? Inside the absolute value, the number that's being multiplied by. So remember what I said, a vertical stretch is the same thing as a horizontal shrink, which this did. The number is greater than 1. It did a horizontal shrink. Which is also a vertical stretch. Here, it's basically 1/3, right? Our value is 1/3. That's what this means. So our C was greater than 0, but less than 1. It did a horizontal stretch, which is the same thing as a vertical shrink. Stretch. Sorry, I couldn't spell. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, going through transformations. Just kind of read through this guide, look at the graphs and kind of tell, look at the function and say, oh, okay, I can tell, it even shows examples here. Oh, I can tell what changed. Okay, this went down 3 units and then it went to the left 2. That's all it did, right? It even tells you there. So look at the examples and take notes. These could be very confusing when you learn them at first. But once you start doing them, it's not so hard. So take notes on this first before getting into the unit. And then once you get into the unit, you hopefully feel more comfortable. This kind of just reviews everything, right? This is when things move up, down, to the left, to the right. When they reflect over the y-axis, reflect over the x-axis. When vertical stretches and shrinks happen, when vertical stretches and horizontal stretches and shrink happen. So it kind of just reviews everything here. Let me know if you have any questions at all.